Alrighty, I think we can get started here. Can you hear me all right? Yeah. Cool. This is the GnosisDAO Community Call for the month of September. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for making the time. We are live on YouTube and we're live on X, on the GnosisDAO community, or GnosisDAO Twitter page. We're also live on the Gnosis Chain Discord. And let's kick it off here. A little housekeeping. We're going to go through events. We're going to go through some governance updates, some ecosystem updates, and then that is a typo. We're going to have the Gnosis Guild on, and they're going to talk about Enclave, which they just launched last week or 2 weeks ago. So jumping into events here, we have upcoming conferences and talks. On the 30th of September in New York City, we have the Masari mainnet. The Metri team will be there, so come say hi if you're around. And then later on in October, we have the Gnosis London meetup. So if you're in London, please come by. We'll be at the Zebu Live. Programming will be announced soon. And in the middle of October, we'll also be at ETH Global San Francisco. We'll have a hackathon, and Gnosis Chain will be there. We also just announced Dev Conflict, which is an event, a side event that's happening at DevCon in Bangkok this year on November 9th through the 10th. And it's a credibly neutral forum to settle the spiciest debates in Web3. I'm going to share the website here in our chat, which we just launched. It's a great website, so check it out. And if you're going to be in Bangkok, please come say hello. This is going to be a great event. We announced the first debate, which is going to be titled Onboarding the Next Billion versus Onboarding the Next Million, Navigating Adoption, Can Blockchain Scale Without Sacrificing Its Values? And we're going to have Remco from WorldCoin debate Vadim from Zerion. So surely going to be a good conversation. And there'll be a way for people to vote on who wins the debate. So please come stop by. Up next, some updates from the Gnosis DAO. Right now, live on the forum, we have GIP 113. Should Gnosis DAO provide grants for Omen 2.0 initiative? And if you've been with us for a while, then surely you're familiar with the Omen platform. Gnosis first set out to build decentralized prediction markets or prediction market platform. And Omen was central to that. So this proposal seeks a grant to develop a front end for the Omen prediction market that leverages AI agents to both create and predict market outcomes. The platform will offer users insights into real-world event predictions while enhancing the overall user experience. And the grant is requested. The size is 400K XDAI and 600 GNO. To fund the development and maintenance of the Omen front end. So that just went live a few hours ago. Pretty exciting proposal. And on Snapshot, we had a redo of GIP 110 due to some snapshot maintenance. And this past quorum, back in September, earlier in September, should the Gnosis DAO create and fund a Gnosis Pay rewards program with 10K GNO? So if you've been paying attention to Gnosis Pay on Twitter, then you've probably seen a lot of info out there about this program. If not, yeah, please tune in over on Twitter and get your Gnosis Pay card today, because there's a lot of juicy incentives that make it a great moment to onboard onto Gnosis Pay. All right, I'm going to hand it over to Coltron, who's going to talk about the Gnosis DAO delegate program. Hey, Coltron.
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. Take it away.
Cool. Yeah, so just a quick intro. I'm Colton, a governance lead at Karpathy, and we're just going to do a very brief update on the delegate program that was signaled to move forward to the passing of GIP 101. If you're unfamiliar with this, the short background is this program will delegate 5K GNO to 10 delegates from the Gnosis DAO Treasury to the winning nominations of this program. The nominations have already taken place earlier this summer. And the goal of this program is just a very simple pilot to explore how we can increase governance activity and involvement around the voting and communication in the DAO. The current state of this program is pretty much on hold. It's been on hold at the beginning of the nomination phase, or after the nomination phase has already selected its applicants. And the reason for this is the inability of the GnosisDAO snapshot space to handle the weighted voting process. The current path forward at this stage is to set up a subspace on snapshot, but this will require the owners of the current snapshot space to make changes to the snapshot configuration. Right now, there's also a more pressing need to update the snapshot strategies, and that's also relying on the signers. So once this is taken care of, once the snapshot strategies are updated, subspace will be implemented, and we anticipate the program will move forward without any changes to the current nominees that applied earlier this summer. And John, I don't have any further updates unless there are questions. Happy to riff and chat about this if you have any questions.
Cool. Yeah. Anyone who's watching on YouTube, if you have any questions, you can type it right into the comment section, and we can ask Colton later in the call. But yeah, thank you so much for the update. And yes, stay tuned. We're going to have an official subspace on our snapshot, which will allow the community to vote on delegates in the very near future. So thanks for your patience there. And Colton, thanks for taking the time to update us.
Yeah, no problem.
All right, moving along here. We're going to go over into the Gnosis ecosystem for a few updates, and I'm going to hand it off to Mateus from the Gnosis Pay team, who's here to update the community. Hey, Mateus, thanks for making the time.
Hey, thank you, John. If you can pass over. So guys, very good month for us. We actually released the rewards, as John has mentioned. Those rewards, just so you understand a little bit more, if you deposit on the account that on the address that you have your Gnosis Pay, you can get up to 5% of cash back. And because of it was the last 2 weeks in specific were all-time highs in terms of transactions. You can see over there, very good growth, and we are seeing a lot of traction on it. Users are happy. People are using more the card. We are seeing more traction also in orders and so on. So in general, it has been very good. We did understand a few things how the product works and the cashback, but it has been very interesting. John, if you can go to the next one. So over there, you can see how much deposit or how much Geno was added into the addresses of Gnosis Pay. So you can see that there was a step curve. We have now around 7K of Genos that have been added, and almost 1,000 people that are joining the program. So if you haven't tried yet, please do. It's very interesting, and you can get a lot of cash back. If you go to the next one. Oh, so it's not there, but it's fine. So just one other update is that
I can refresh the slides for you. Hold on one second. Give me 1 second here.
Yeah, so it was just to say that the rewards has been live for 2 weeks, and the payouts have been done. And then one thing that has been said for a while, but we changed our QAC provider, so now there's a better experience in terms of how you do actually the onboarding. You can go over there. If you order a card right now, you're gonna see the experience is better, and that it's gonna be more seamless. We're pretty happy with it. And also IBANs are getting back. We had some issues that we were testing. Now we are back to the OGs. And then probably next week we should start to release to the broader audience. So in general, a good month, good things coming. Excited for what's coming next as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mateus, for making the time. Always exciting to hear from the Pay team. And again, a great time to onboard into Gnosis Pay if you haven't already. There's a ton of great incentives right now, so please do so. All right, I'm going to move on here, and we're going to bring Georgios up on the stage for an update about Hashi. Hey, Georgios, what's up?
Hey, John. Hi, everyone.
All right.
Great, thanks, man. Yeah, so we have some exciting updates on Hashi and the Gnosis bridges. So finally, after around 9-10 months of work, we have finally in production and starting from the Omni bridge Hashi, right? What does it really mean is that we are now flexible to choose any kind of ZK-like client or any other kind of adapter, any other kind of bridge or solution we might want. We can just swap it in and out, and we can have thresholds on the security of the bridge, meaning think of it as a kind of a multi-sig of bridges, right? In particular, the setup we're implementing right now, it has two ZK-like clients, one implemented by the Dendrus team and another called Spectre implemented by the ChainShift team. And we have also added layer 0 as an additional oracle for redundancy. And we're experimenting with different setups, right? So we can start with 1 of 2 or 2 of 3. We can add another one. Why I'm saying experimenting, if it's already in the production, is because we are now in the let's say initial pilot phase, which means that Hashi, so the whole Hashi setup, everything I mentioned, including the light clients and the bridges, are one of the 7 validators of the bridge. So essentially that means there is no kind of change to what was exactly happening before. But we aim to change that in a month or 2 from now, where we're going to make Hashi as mandatory validator, meaning any kind of bridge transaction from Ethereum to Gnosis and back has to be validated by this setup to be considered valid. Yeah, and I think that's all for today.
Cool. Thank you, Georgios. Always great to hear from you. And yeah, exciting updates from Hashi. So thanks so much. All right. And we're going to move it over to the Gnosis Guild. And Marv is on the call. So let me bring Marv up to the stage. And I'm going to just briefly introduce Gnosis Guild. For those of you who are not familiar, Gnosis Guild was incubated by Gnosis, and they were a small team of experienced developers and Gnosis alumni. And their early work in the space, they gained a very deep understanding of the underlying components required by DAOs, and they developed the Zodiac protocol, which offers modular tooling for DAOs and allows them to develop like constellations. And they are not, rather than being tied to a platform, the Zodiac protocol offers extensible modular tooling. I'm not sure I did that justice, but Marv, I'm sure, can do a better job. And Marv is going to talk about Enclave, which was just launched. So I'm also going to change my screen here so Marv has a diagram to talk about. But Marv, thanks for making the time, and yeah, take it away.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the intro, John. Thanks for having us, of course. Yeah, I'll run through some of our general updates quickly here first before I talk about the diagram. And, you know, before I start, I just kind of wanted to acknowledge, you know, that we're really appreciative and grateful to be here. You know, the world's pretty absurd, so it's really nice to be just sharing what we do with the Gnosis community. So yeah, appreciate you all, and thanks for showing up. Yeah, could you go back to our up. Oh, I could go through the diagram first too. If
Here,
you'd like.
I can bring the slides back up. Just give me 1 second here.
Oh, sure.
Here we go. There you go.
Cool, thanks. Yeah, so first I wanted to talk about Roles v2, which is an on-chain permissions mod for smart accounts. Since the last call, the mod has been natively integrated into Safe Wallet. So if you have Roles v2 equipped to your safe, you can now use it to execute whitelisted transactions from a role member directly from Safe Wallet. And that doesn't require extra signatures from other safe owners. So it kind of helps streamline things and kind of addresses issues that people have had in terms of coordinating around safe transactions. Yeah, next I wanted to mention that Zodiac Wiki recently migrated to a new home. The site includes all the operator documentation for Zodiac, but it also features a bunch of governance patterns, reading materials, and more. So yeah, definitely encourage you to check it out, even if you're not using Zodiac tools. And you can find that at zodiac.wiki. Couple other things I'll just briefly mention. One balance is building a resource lock module for the safe ecosystem, which leverages Zodiac for instant cross-chain interactions. So we'll be supporting them through that. And we're also working on improvements to Zodiac Pilot, an app that offers sort of like easy ways to build secure transactions for the EVM. So most recently, we've been putting work into making it compatible with Robbie Wallet and are improving other UX related items. Let's see, next slide, John. So yeah, we'll take the rest of the call to focus on Enclave, which is Gnosis Guild's first venture as an activist engineering studio. So in case you don't know, Enclave is an open source protocol for what we're calling encrypted execution environments, which utilizes FHE, ZKPs, and threshold cryptography. These execution environments enable secure computations on multiple inputs of encrypted data without exposing the data throughout its life cycle. So this allows agents, individuals, organizations to sort of create these new privacy preserving applications that weren't possible before, at least in the way that they're implemented in traditional solutions. So this would be everything from secret ballots to sealed bid auctions and to collaborative data pools that could be utilized in healthcare, AI, really just a whole bunch of other industries. So yeah, before I get into the diagram that John was talking about, I want to just go through a few more related news. Yeah, as John mentioned, we finally made what we consider a soft announcement for Enclave last week. Give a brief overview of what it enables. And next week, we'll be publishing a lengthy blog post going much deeper into its architecture, potential use cases, and things like that. So yeah, if you're interested in updates, definitely subscribe to the blog at enclave.gg and give a follow on Twitter, Barcaster, and other social platforms. The handle is EnclaveE3. So yeah, at the moment, our team is working on building prototypes for Enclave's components. Much of the protocol's operations revolve around a network of nodes that I'll get into a little bit more, called the Cipher Node Committee. So we're putting work there and getting the protocol into a proof of concept state. Meanwhile, we're also building a prototype for the secret voting use case with an app called Crisp. So yeah, we'll share much more details about Crisp, and we have a bunch of partnerships lined up too. So we'll start revealing those in the coming months. But yeah, again, the best spot for updates is Enclave Social and blog. So do follow if you're interested. Yeah, we're otherwise establishing partnerships and entering a seed round. So DM or hit us up in the Gnosis Guild Discord if you want to chat. Yeah, that's it for these general updates, John.
All right, let me pull up this slide for you real quick. And it looks like Oren's on the call, so I will bring up Oren to the stage as well. And here's the great diagram that you had. And let me grab Oren. What's up, Oren? Great to see you.
Hello, Oren.
It looks like Oren's connection is still... Hold on, let me try that again. It looks like Oren's connection froze, so let me ping Oren to see if he can join again. And Marv, if you want to just kick it off by talking through this diagram, that would be great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Oren is definitely the expert here, so once he's back in, he'll be able to explain things a little bit better. But let me just run through the diagram here. Hope you all can see it. The font might be a little small here. I got to enlarge it myself. So yeah, let's just run through how data flows through Enclave. Using we can, in this diagram, it has the example of a healthcare researcher working with multiple hospitals to analyze encrypted patient data from multiple sources. So so step one here is request an E3. So this process sort of kickstarts the whole thing. So in this case, it would be the healthcare researcher who acts as the requester. So they would essentially initiate the process by requesting an E3, specifying parameters like the data inputs, number of nodes, duration of the computation, these sort of things. The request sets up this sort of secure environment for the computation. So step two here, it says create a new E3. This is when the protocol creates the E3, which is essentially a secure sort of virtual space where the encrypted computation will take place. Step three, so to sort of ensure the security, the protocol selects a committee of nodes through a process known as sortition. This cipher node committee, as I mentioned before, handles key generation, data processing, and verification, ensuring the data remains secure. And then let's see, that moves to step 4 here, which is when the committee generates a shared public key and publishes it on chain. So in this sort of use case, this would be the hospitals as the data providers who would encrypt their patient data before sharing it, just to ensure that the information is locked up securely from the start here. Oh, Oren, I see you're on. I don't know if you want to take it from here. I just got through step 4.
Hey, no stress. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, sound good.
Awesome. Sorry for the delay, everyone. I'm at MCon in Detroit right now, and my panel just before this ran over, so hustled off here to try to make it. Thanks for covering up.
No worries. Thanks.
So I don't have the context on what you've covered so far, but maybe I'll just quickly give my take on the kind of high-level overview for Enclave, and then we can dive through the diagram here. So Enclave is this protocol for encrypted execution environments. It is particularly interesting or kind of enables this class of computation where you can take many private inputs from many disparate parties, compute over them in some way, kind of run arbitrary computations on them to then produce a public output. And the really unique thing here is being able to do that without ever revealing any of the inputs. The inputs and the intermediate states stay encrypted indefinitely. And this is a kind of mode of computation that really hasn't been possible until very recently. So we're super excited about what this enables, in particular for kind of governance systems, enabling legitimately legitimately secret ballots. which is a really critical component to governance functioning as intended, to producing kind of legitimate outcomes. But then also things like, sealed bid auctions, research over private medical data, large scale, say, data analytics over web browser traffic, things like training AI models on private financial data. There's this huge interesting kind of design space here and kind of problem space that having legitimate access to secret compute helps to solve for. So very excited about it. And just to give a high level overview, I think Marv already started, but I'll dive in and try to talk through it quickly and just kind of cover what Marv already covered. This is using a hypothetical example of a healthcare researcher. In this case, healthcare researcher has a handful of healthcare providers that are essentially data warehouses. They interact directly with patients, warehouse a bunch of the patient's data, but this data is very sensitive. And so they don't necessarily want to expose that data to the healthcare researcher, but want to enable the healthcare researcher to produce insights from that and ultimately enable them to provide better healthcare. Alongside that, the kind of desire to obviously not broadcast or share data, there's also a whole bunch of regulatory hoops that come along with custodying that kind of data. And so from the healthcare researcher's point of view, being able to produce outcomes, produce insights from this warehouse data without ever having to be exposed to the plain text data radically changes the access and the liability that they're exposed to from interacting with that data. And so, in this case, this kind of hypothetical case, the healthcare researcher makes a request to Enclave. And what this is going to do is basically trigger a sortition process to select a handful of cipher nodes from the global pool of cipher nodes. The requester gets to choose how many cipher nodes they want and what threshold of those nodes need to coordinate in order to decrypt outputs. So they kind of get to define the security level themselves. Once that sortition process has happened, the selected cipher nodes publish their public key, and from there, now the healthcare providers that are providing inputs to the system can encrypt their data to that public key provided by the cipher node committee, and then publish that to the system. Publish that encrypted input on chain. I'll publish a commitment to that encrypted input on chain. From there, from this encrypted input, once they have all been published, a compute provider, any compute provider, anyone can take those inputs, run the computation run whatever the desired computation is on the inputs. In this case, the healthcare researcher, probably some kind of like linear regression over the inputs provided to illuminate some trend in the data. Ideal case here is that this compute provider is some verifiable execution environment, a ZK VM, like say Succinct SP1, RISC-0, Jolt. But it also could be an Oracle-based compute provider or a consensus-based compute provider where, say you could have a multi-sig-like environment where just say 3 or 5 nodes or 3 or 5 signers need to agree on what the output was. You could have something like a reality.eth-based escalation game to decide what the outcome was. The protocol itself is kind of agnostic to this. It's a modular component. But essentially, the protocol waits for the selected compute provider. Again, the compute provider is something that's defined by the requester. They can kind of choose which trust assumptions, which costs, trust trade-offs that they want to make. Once the compute provider has reported the output back on chain, this then triggers the cipher node committee to coordinate to decrypt the output and then ultimately publish the decrypted output back on chain. And worth noting explicitly there that decrypted really just means decrypted from the cipher node committee's key. It could still be data that is then further encrypted to back to the healthcare provider, the healthcare researcher's key. So it doesn't necessarily mean publishing the final output of the data on chain, but just publishing the data that needs to be consumed by whoever requests it back on chain, or a commitment to that data back on chain. So yeah, this is a kind of high-level overview of how Enclave works and some of the problem space that we're hoping to help build solutions for.
Cool. Thank you so much, Oren. If anyone has any questions for Oren or Marv or the team here, then you can type them in the chat on YouTube, or you can ask directly in Discord, and our team will hand off those questions. I have a quick question. In terms of scaling Enclave, like, are there any bottlenecks in terms of like accessing compute, for example? So like maybe an analogy would be in decentralized AI, or just like scaling AI in general. Like you need access to a lot of compute in order to do so, right? To scale AI. Is there
absolutely.
similar bottlenecks to Enclave?
Yes, I mean, this is one of the trade-offs that you make by using fully homomorphic encryption and using ZKPs, right? Is that they have their own pretty sizable compute overhead, and so I think the reality of this is that it's best suited currently to computations that are relatively simple, relatively light computationally, but benefit very much from the kind of integrity guarantees that we can produce with this combination of technologies. So yeah, you're right. Like training an AI model inside of an FHE computation currently would imply really significant compute overhead, and that combined with the fact that AI training is a compute heavy task probably means that it's the kind of overlap for the time being, or the kind of cost trade-off there for the time being pushes it toward only really making sense for really sensitive data that is just not possible to get access to otherwise. But also probably shifts it more towards being viable for training, for tuning, fine-tuning existing models as opposed to training new models. But yeah, I think that the better near-term targets are computations that are fundamentally just simpler computations. So tallying a vote is a very simple computation, and so one that lends itself nicely to FHE in its kind of current encryption schemes, current hardware capabilities. Things like second price auctions or sealed bid auctions, I think, are another one that is relatively simple computationally, and so is much more accessible in the near term. But it's a very safe bet to assume that compute resources are going to become more plentiful, and that the encryption schemes are going to consistently become more and more performant. And so I think over the coming months and years, the other more complex use cases will become more and more viable, and the kind of the ceiling, the floor for when it becomes a viable use case will just kind of continue dropping.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, there's an enormous demand for compute right now, and that's only going to increase into the future. So in this chart, like compute providers, is there a way for individuals to provide like their compute to the Enclave protocol, like in the way that people would provide their compute to like a DPIN project that is training AI?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Cypher node committee that Marv has up on screen, these Cypher nodes this is a program that we're hoping people are going to run at home, right? That we're very much aiming towards having a very large, very broadly distributed set of at-home stakers that are ultimately running Cypher nodes. The computational workload of those of that particular set of actors, or of their responsibilities, is not all that great. They're specifically responsible for coordinating distributed key generation, and then coordinating decryption of the outputs when they're published. The computationally heavy component is what happens over in the compute provider. And so this is a modular component to the system that you can kind of defer to any number of other systems, and kind of choose those based on your cost, trust, verifiability, kind of trade-offs, whatever makes sense for your use case. And so the ability for people at home to kind of contribute to that side of computation really depends on which compute providers users end up requesting, participants end up requesting. And the kind of deep in projects that you're suggesting, these kind of things, actually, there's several of them that may ultimately end up being compute provider solutions or part of compute provider solutions. So yeah, there's definitely a capacity for people to at home participate in both the kind of secrecy component by running cipher nodes, but then also the compute component by participating in the other systems that this plugs into.
Super cool. Yeah, the teenage geek in me just gets so excited about stuff like this. I used to run SETI on my Dell laptop when I was in middle school, and it's just so cool to see that model of like providing compute to a project, grow from the early project like SETI into these really sci-fi amazing projects like Enclave, or deep in projects where you can provide your compute. Cool. Yeah, I also look forward to a future where using Enclave is a viable solution for individuals. Like I'd love to run this at my house, or just be able to use this on my phone.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and the intent here really is to make it running a cipher node something that anyone can do. It very much would like to spin up a DApp node package for it, so anyone that's running a DApp node already can kind of install this package and run one of these from home. And obviously a huge chunk of the Gnosis ecosystem are already doing this, so hopefully this is something that they can leverage their DApp nodes to contribute to another protocol, and participate in making the system run and exist, and hopefully be a benefit to the world.
Absolutely. I mean, I see a huge benefit. Oren, thanks so much for making the time. Marv, thank you so much for making the time. We already shared a bunch of links related to Enclave and the Gnosis Guild in the chat, so please check those out. Any like upcoming events or anything you want to point the community off to, Oren or Marv?
Marv probably has a better take on events than I do, but just shout out to Marv real quick for showing up and covering for me, because I was late. Really appreciate it, Marv.
No, of course, no problem at all. I guess I would mention I did mention it already, but the blog post is coming out next week. That'll go a little bit more into the details of how Enclave works. Also, Oren, you have an event in October, or is it November?
I'll be at DevCon in November and speaking at the Web3 Privacy Summit, as well as probably some other events in and around DevCon. So yeah, anyone that wants to catch up there, very keen to chat about Enclave and Gnosis Guild and the Gnosis ecosystem, and just the Web3 ecosystem more broadly. Always keen to chat. If anyone is here at MCon, come find me.
Cool. Thanks so much, guys. And thank you, everyone else, for making the time to join us on the GnosisDAO Community Call. I'm just going to switch the slides here to wrap up. So give me 1 second. All right. Please join us on the GnosisDAO forum. If you're not a member there, please sign up. And it's a great way to get an overview of the Gnosis roadmap and proposals that are live on the forum. And please jump in and voice your opinion. We always love to hear from the community. Here are our developer docs for Gnosis Chain. You get an overview of the Gnosis ecosystem here. And please, if you're not already a validator, we make it very easy. It requires one GNO, and we have one-click solutions like AdaptNode. And yeah, thank you so much for making the time. We'll see you next month on the GnosisDAO Community Call. Take care, everyone. Have a great month, and we'll see you on chain. Take care.